Hi, my name's Steve and welcome to the Seaside Allotment channel, and it's time for another what am I sowing and what am I growing video. And this is where I just focus really on seedlings and new sowings. So it's the seedlings, progress on those from the ones that I planted in May, and it's the sowings that I'm planning to do in June. Now, you know, the April-May videos were all focused really on summer, and so preps for summer are pretty much all complete, and just a few little bits and pieces. So there's just a few tomatoes waiting to go in. Lots of tomatoes are in, indoor and out, but there's a few exposed places where I'm not going to plant tomatoes until June, and the outdoor cucumbers are not in yet. But apart from that, I'm pretty sure now that everything's in. And so the only things that are still going to get planted are swap outs where plants have failed. So I know already that there's a couple of brassicas that have been just decimated by slugs and snails. I'm not sure which because I can't find them. And probably a few butternut squash plants that looked a bit sickly when I planted them. I'm not quite sure what was going on with those, but anyway, they've not really thrived. So I've got some nice crown prints that I'm going to put in their place. And I've got one trumpetino that I've saved. I've got two in the polytunnel and want to plant one outside to see how it goes. So that is about it in terms of the summer planting. So that's a great position to be in. I've said that on a few videos now, but I can't overemphasize it enough. It's really nice to be fully through that transition from the spring and winter crops through to the summer crops. So now the focus is all shifting. So we're still doing a few sowings, like salad crops for midsummer, and the odd bit calabrese for autumn and things like that. But really the focus is starting to shift now to planning for winter. And I think this is where a lot of people go wrong and why they don't have a fantastic abundance of veg all through late autumn and winter and early spring. And that's because you've got to start thinking about it now, and it's totally counterintuitive really, because you're kind of like, oh, it's just wonderful summer and everything like that, and you're just not really thinking about late autumn, winter and early spring. But you've got to be thinking about it now. So it's the cabbages right now. So end of May into June, that's when you plant a lot of your cabbages that you're going to be eating in autumn and winter. And you're going to keep thinking about that all the way through July and August and September and even into October. But you start thinking about it late May and early June. So that's what I'm going to talk about later on in the video. So I was going to do that on the computer because it's easier to show you all the different varieties that I'm sowing and what the dates I'm targeting them for and all that sort of thing. But now I'll just encourage you, start doing your research about late autumn, winter and early spring, because June, July and August are your key months. Now if you've got a polytunnel, you can add September and October to that list, but if you haven't got a polytunnel or cold frames or whatever, then August is basically when it finishes, but June is when it starts. So let's have a quick look around the plot, and that won't take very long because, as I say, everything's in the ground now. If you look at my tour videos, you'll have seen everything on the tours, so there's not a lot really of significance to mention, but I will just show you a few little highlights. And one thing that I'm a bit embarrassed about, but anyway, I'll show you that anyway. So let's get the embarrassment out of the way first. I didn't grow these peppers. I actually had to go and buy some things from the shops, and so all of those peppers all the way down there are all shop bought. I had to buy those because greenfly. I just had a batch of peppers that has really small plants. They're only this sort of size. They got greenfly. I didn't notice it, and it started actually on some brassicas that were in the same tray as these, and then it spread to them, and they just didn't thrive, and they never really recovered. And I thought, well, I just could cut my losses. and so I bought some. Those that I bought are almost exactly the same size as these that I've grown myself, so I don't really feel that bad about it. I haven't cheated. I haven't bought really big luscious plants, you know, that have been grown in a heated polytunnel somewhere. No, just bought things that are basically exactly the same as mine. And can you see? Green fly. So I'm not going to let that live. There we go. So I have to keep watching out. So then all my tomatoes are in, and this kind of does justify my decision not to grow early tomatoes in any significant quantity, because I'm really happy with these tomatoes. You know, they're plenty good enough size, even though they were planted really late, and it just meant they were really easy to manage. I didn't have to worry too much about, you know, heat and, you know, heating the polytunnel or anything like that. So I'm not quite maybe as stocky as I would like them to be. And look, I did manage to pull one whole branch off by accident when I was putting the strings in. But yeah, I'm pretty pleased with those. Same with the cucumbers. Now, a few people on the allotments have actually got cucumbers now, and they're sort of boasting by giving me them. But you know, I'm not too worried. I don't need to compete. But I did end up growing on 3 early cordon tomatoes, and so I will have some earlies. And this one is just so amazing, the size of the trusses on this, and I'm actually starting to get the first few tomatoes on there. So yeah, I've got 3 cordons, 4 early tumbling toms of various different, 2 different colours, yellows and reds. And that one looks really grotty, but it's actually got the most tomatoes on it, so I can't really complain. And of course I've got my runner beans, and again, this is why I haven't got runner beans outside, because it's really cold outside at the moment, and you know, runner beans are not thriving outside, but my runner bean in here in the polytunnel is. And so my practice is just, you know, grow just a couple of things just to get you started early, but you grow your main crops at the optimum time. Just, can you see all these bumblebees? Everywhere on this plant there's bumblebees. Early beetroot are bulbing up really nicely now, and again, all I've grown is probably about 20 beetroot early at least, because I've got these coming on beautifully outside, and they started life just in the coal frame with the lid on, but for most of their lives they've been out in the elements, and they're doing just fine. So you don't really need a huge quantity in the polytunnel, just taking up space. And then you have to plant the golden beetroot a little bit later, but some of these plants are starting to look moderately healthy now, and then some of them are still looking really sickly, and I still haven't I'm no more the wiser as to why. My main crop lettuce beds are doing really nicely, but I started on the successions now. I don't need a huge number, so I've just started popping them in gaps that are appearing. So this is a lovely onion bed, so I just pop, you know, I had some spaces in it, so I popped some lettuces in there, and these are little gems and red salad bowl, I think. And all of the onions are planted now, and all of the shallots as well, and obviously everything's grown from seed. And yeah, we've just started harvesting actually our overwintered onions. And some of my favourite summer leafy greens coming on very nicely. Still need a little bit of protection. They'll survive without protection, but they won't thrive. So this is the one of the New Zealand spinach beds. We've got 3 of these. And it's a similar story over here with the golden purslane, which is really thriving with this protection. Another succession of salads and spring onions. This is a cauliflower bed. There's 5 cauliflowers in here, and these are graffiti. Actually, I think that's maybe not a cauliflower. I think that's dazzling blue kale. And then at the back of here, that's where some of my outdoor cauliflowers are going to go. And this bed was actually the New Zealand spinach bed last year, and you can tell because lots and lots of New Zealand spinach seedlings coming up, loads more down here as well. So if anybody's local and they want some little New Zealand spinach transplants, this bed's the place to come and get them. So yeah, I'm growing some lettuce in here because by the time the cauliflower is big enough to overpower the lettuce, I will have had many harvests off here. So this is the last of the seedling beds on my plot. So we've got some turnip greens here. Turnip greens are great for smoothie mixes, spring onions, and the first of the chard. And the rest of the chard and the spinach beet will eventually go in here, sometime in July probably, in place of those turnip greens. So then all this bed will be a mix of perpetual spinach and chard, and I like to sow it in a cold frame, in a raised bed like this, because in probably October time, maybe November time, I'll be putting a cover on like that. In fact, it might even be that cover, because then we can keep on harvesting it all over winter. So that's my early summer carrot bed, and this is my late summer and autumn carrot bed, and it's a fairly substantial bed. There's a lot of carrots in here and it's a pretty valuable crop, so I don't really like using nets when I can help it, but yeah, we're going to be harvesting this all the way through carrot root fly season, so I'll put a bit of protection on there. And actually just up there on there, they're the carrots we're currently eating. And back in the polytunnel just for a couple of other bits and pieces, some really nice cucumbers at the back there, fem spot, loads of flowers coming on those. First succession of courgettes on there, and then this is the first succession of sweet corn, and then second succession more down there, part of the second succession, and then the third and fourth successions are all outside. So, and this is the fourth succession, I think, of the sweet corn, and Debbie's got a couple of beds of these on her plot, and that's the second succession of the onions. Well, they're probably shallots actually over there. And that's what I was talking about, the New Zealand spinach. That's the same batch that I showed you, but this stuff is planted outside, as you can probably remember. It's a big difference. So I'm on Jenny's plot now, and I don't know whether you can see, but just the first signs of life from the French beans. The very first of the amethyst dwarf French bean, and the Aztec broccoli, and I've held some of those in reserve in the polytunnel because I wasn't quite sure when these are suitable for planting out, and it has been pretty cold. In fact, it was really cold this morning, but anyway, it doesn't matter when you've got reserves, you can learn on the job. And the first of the courgettes, they seem to be coping with the cold reasonably well. And the crown prince, we've got 12 of these, and they struggled a bit, but I think we've got some warm weather coming soon, so, and some rain. They really need some rain. I haven't watered them very much because I want them to concentrate on putting roots down, so they've struggled a bit, but hopefully struggling will pay off in the long term. Garden now, just a few bits and pieces to show. All these containers in the strawberry beds are full of carrots, and they just started to germinate. The last of the main crop potatoes are up, and there's loads more hidden away. Leeks are coming on very nicely. They're just, well, they're near enough ready to go out now if I had somewhere to put them. All the little tomatoes are out. And there's my spare brassicas, and I'm probably going to need about half of those. There's my last few outdoor tomatoes. I've got a few spares as well. Cucamelons down there. Actually, where I think I did the last video, I was in despair that these cucamelons wouldn't actually germinate, but they did. And another batch of golden beetroot. Let's have a look at these properly. So this is a precious sowing. These are lots of my winter brassicas. So I've got red drum-haired cabbage, Carvalho Nero kale, dazzling blue kale, I think that's the last planting of that, claret, purple sprouting broccoli, Romanesco cauliflower, early purple sprouting broccoli, red boar kale, winter boar kale, North Fourlander cauliflower, Desico, and that's a calabrese, January king, that's a cabbage, and tundra, which is another cabbage. So that's a Savoy. So yeah, and there'll be another tray like this next, well, in the middle of June time, I think. Some will just be reserves for these, and some will just be successions. And then here we've got the gherkins and outdoor cucumbers. And then these are sweet potatoes, and we've only got 3. And what's this one? This is stevia. You know, the sweetener. It's got a really sweet tasting leaf. As always, we're on the computer now, and the database that I'm showing you here is available. You can either just browse it or take a copy of it to play with yourself. You can take a copy with my data or without my data. And so with that, all that is linked in the description, so play around as you will. So we're just currently looking at what we sowed in May, and the quick summary is we sowed a lot of brassicas for autumn and winter. So the first sowing of the purple sprouting broccoli, the red cabbage, Savoy cabbages, January king, calabrese, well that's for autumn, cauliflower for winter, calabrese for autumn, kales for autumn, chard, late summer, autumn. Last sowing of the spinach for summer, cucumbers outdoor for summer, French beans, they were sown in the ground, all those 3 French beans, and they were starting to come up. Last sowing of the mange 2 peas for summer, runner beans for summer, and the beetroot, Bolt Hardy and Burpee's Golden, they're both for summer and early autumn, as are the carrots. And I've just re-sowed some of my potato pots with the next batch of potatoes, shallots, again they'll be for late summer. My last sowing of radish, basically come summer, June, I stopped sowing radish. It just it's not the best crop. It's a cool weather crop, really, radish. I much prefer it at that time of the year, and there's so much better stuff to eat than radish. Okay, so on to June, and there's a lot of repeats here. I'll be sowing some white Lisbon, but then all these brassicas pretty much are repeats of what I sowed in May, with the idea really that we want a slight succession of some of them, but also, you know, we want to make sure that if we get any failures, we've got some spare plants. So kales again, purple sprouting broccoli, just focusing on the claret really now, because that's the best one for late spring, so mid-spring. Cabbages sown for successions, Romanesco successions, asparagus kale, that's sown for spring. Carvalho Nero, Black Magic, same for winter. Marathon, late autumn. Purple cauliflower, late sort of autumn time. And actually I'm just going to try some more trumpettinos because we really like these, and the plants do tend to get a bit exhausted by late summer, so I'm going to put some more in now, see if we can get some healthy plants at that same time. And I'm going to sow some basil and some coriander. Basil will be interplanted with the peppers in the polytunnel. And then I'm going to sow some nightbird and autumn king carrots, and those will stay in the ground well into winter. And then cylindra and burpees golden, they're my favourite storing beetroot, so they're just going to be harvested for storage, and that'll be probably October time. And then lettuces, so these are the lettuces that will be eaten in August. So there's Clement, Moon Red, Bijou, Grenoble Red, Navarra, Tessie, Little Gem, and some chicory, Palarossa, which is to add some really nice colour and crunch to those winter salads. I'll be sowing some more of that in July. So I think that is pretty much it for June. So I thought I'd also just show you that I've created a new table in my database for first harvest dates. I think it's just a sort of game I like to play, try and harvest things as early as possible and earlier than last year. And of course, good old reliable spinach was the first. Lots of lovely brassicas, February and March. First potatoes, April the 11th. More first carrots, April 29th. Spinach, April 21st, not too bad. Green garlic, May 6th. First cauliflower, May 9th. First strawberries, May 16th. That's good. Broad beans. I was really pleased with the broad beans actually. Really good crop. May 16th. And these are my summer crops. First of my summer crops. So the golden purslane and New Zealand spinach, May 30th, just before summer. So yeah, anyway, I'll publish this so you can take a look at it, and again, take a copy of it if you want. And with that, I'm finished with this update, so hope you liked it, and I'll see you soon. Bye for now.